Lockheed Martin is a very large company. Here in Texas, they are a major producer of military aircraft. I'd like for Mr. Orlando, get your name as close as I can, Carvalho, please come forward and tell us about Lockheed Martin.
Thank you, Norm. Thank you for that introduction. Let me begin by saying it is quite an honor to be here. It was a few months ago that I received a call from my good friend Gordon England, who told me about the Academy, told me about this conference, and suggested that if it was possible to come down and be a participant in it. And I had to admit that at the time that I received the phone call, I wasn't familiar with the Academy, but I am now. And in fact, not only am I familiar with it, I've learned a little bit about it and some interesting history that Lockheed Martin has had with the Academy here in the past. Specifically, I learned that we were one of the founding members of the Academy. And back in 2004, my predecessor, Dane Hancock, actually joined forces with then United States Senator K. Bailey Hutchison and an individual who was the chairman and the CEO of Exxon that you may have heard of, Rex Tillerson. And they established the Edith and Peter O'Donnell Awards, which I know that will be celebrated tonight at the dinner. Unfortunately, I will not be able to be here for the dinner tonight, but it was very gratifying to learn that these awards that were established back in 2004 have continued on and are obviously, part of the fabric of the Academy here and of the association. I am also pleased to see the focus on aerospace that Norm talked about in his introductory remarks. We believe that this focus now more than ever will benefit from the knowledge sharing amongst this group here today. I also believe that your presence here speaks volumes about the partnership we have and we will continue to have between the aerospace industry and the research community. Together, it is this partnership that's evolving the existing technology and exploring new innovative solutions that we believe will build a better tomorrow for both the citizens of our country and for our allies around the globe. In the amount of time that I have allotted to speak with you today, I thought I would briefly share some insights into 3 technological advances that are being led by Lockheed Martin Aeronautics. My remarks will include where we are in our engineering efforts and the cutting edge capabilities that each of these advances offers for us. You will see, I believe, in these remarks how some of these technologies already exist and are in use today. Some of the technologies and solutions are in development, and some of the advancements that are currently underway may even have the capacity to one day revolutionize the world. And without question, the research community continues to be a driving force behind these innovations. So let's take a look at these 3 innovations. The first one I'd like to highlight is what we call 5th generation sensor fusion. This is a capability that is employed on our 5th generation fighter aircraft, the F-35 Lightning II. Many of you may already know, but for those of you who don't, sensor fusion is the software engine that combines the information from all the aircraft sensors together with the offboard sensors into an integrated view of the battle space, sometimes called a single integrated air picture. Why is this hard? Well, simply put, a warfighting environment is about as clear as mud. The environment can be very noisy in terms of RF energy. It can be very ambiguous. It can greatly confuse. It can trick you. It can electronically jam you. And ultimately, it can overwhelm you. It is the real world manifestation of the fog of war. Therefore, our 5th generation sensor fusion does 3 fundamental tasks for the F-35 pilot. First, it assembles a single integrated picture from all the sensors. Think of this as filtering out the noise, resolving the ambiguity, and thereby eliminating a tremendous amount of the confusion. Secondly, it tasks the sensors to fill in that which is missing, including cutting through the electronic countermeasures that may be present. And thirdly, it shares that information, that airplane shares that information with everyone else on specialized communication networks. The ability to share and to ultimately fuse that which is organic or on the airplane from that which is inorganic or what comes from off the airplane is what makes the F-35 sensor fusion unique. This capability makes it extremely difficult for the enemy to defeat multiple sensors on multiple F-35s simultaneously. This gives our pilots, our aviators, a significant military advantage. As General Goldfein, our present United States Air Force Chief of Staff, likes to say, we don't want a fair fight. This capability that I'm describing is a capability that is fielded today on the airplanes, on the F-35 airplanes. It's in use. 2 services have declared initial capability with the airplane, the United States Marine Corps and the United States Air Force. And at the end of last year, the Israeli Air Force declared mission capability, with more to come here in the years to follow. So a capability that's been developed, deployed, and what we're now doing is continuing to refine it and advance it as we go forward. The second Lockheed Martin technology that I'd like to discuss today is hypersonics. This is building vehicles that travel at speeds greater than Mach 5 inside the atmosphere. Our robust experience in high-speed flight has shown us that the addition of hypersonic technology is the best and most cost-effective solution to address potentially dangerous and increasingly mobile threats that affect our global security. When the word speed is mentioned in conversations about Lockheed Martin aircraft, people immediately think about the SR-71 Blackbird. In the 1960s, when the SR-71 was first fielded, the airplane flew at speeds greater than Mach 3 and at altitudes higher than 90,000 feet. It set speed records, as in a 1 hour and 54-minute flight from New York to London and a 1-hour flight from Burbank, California to Washington, D.C. I think it would be fair to say that we would all love to have that level of speed in our commercial air travel today. And in fact, we're also working on that too, but that's another discussion for another day. But the SR-71 was retired in 1998. So where are we now? Well, our hypersonic technology will enable various platforms to operate at 2 to 3 times the speed of the Blackbird. And the operational survivability and the lethality is the ultimate deterrent. In the last decade, progress was made and moving quickly on hypersonics technology, which we really do view as a disruptive technology and a game changer. We continue to advance and test technologies in the areas of propulsion and material sciences, which will benefit hypersonic flight. Speed matters, especially when it comes to national security. While I can't share specifics, let's just say that our Skunk Works team in Palmdale, California, working together with our operations in Fort Worth, Texas, is doubling down on our commitment to speed. Simply put, I believe our country is on the verge of a hypersonics revolution. And the third and final technology I wanted to discuss this afternoon is an opportunity that can bring power and energy in a very environmentally friendly way, make fresh water abundant, and allow an airplane to fly for days without refueling. And this technology is what we call compact fusion. So what is compact fusion? Well, it is essentially developing a nuclear fusion reactor that, together with its infrastructure, can essentially fit in a shipping container. You may ask, how did Lockheed Martin Aeronautics get involved in nuclear fusion? Well, as an aeronautics company, customers are looking for aircraft to have more and more endurance. And that means keeping an airplane in the air for as long as possible without needing to be refueled. So while we are thinking about how to keep an aircraft in the sky longer, we are also thinking about how all alternative energy sources can have orders of magnitude more endurance in the future than we have today. One of the members of our Skunk Works team, Tom McGuire, is leading this effort for us. Tom is a young engineer who holds a PhD from MIT and has studied nuclear fusion for more than 2 decades, including how a reactor could fit on an airplane. Our vision is to provide low-cost, clean, safe fusion energy to drive sustainable global development and reduce energy scarcity. Our compact fusion reactor team has made strong progress, not surprising given how the heritage of our Skunk Works team is known for tackling the most complex problems to meet the needs of our nation. Our testing to date shows that plasma self-organizes into magnetic wells and forms thin, confining plasma skins. Leveraging this behavior through the use of magnetic fields in such a compact design has never been done before. We expect our continued engineering to bring us closer to demonstrating break-even fusion conditions. What are break-even fusion conditions? Well, today, in the work that we're doing in the lab, the amount of energy we put into the reactor far exceeds the energy that comes out of the reactor. However, over time, as you evolve the technology, eventually you hit break-even where the energy going in equals the energy going out. And once you hit break-even, it becomes a matter of time then to ultimately achieve the end result of having more energy outputted than the amount of energy that's inputted. With the work that we've done today, we believe we are 3 to 4 cycles away from demonstrating this kind of performance. And we are talking a few years, not decades. How fast we make the vision become a reality depends on the level of activity we expend and how quickly we can successfully climb the required steps, all while navigating the inevitable surprises that we will witness along the way. Today, while we build and test, we are also and simultaneously ramping up all the simulation that is required to refine the models, and we've done that using the advantage of state-of-the-art supercomputers that we have available to us today. Throughout all these efforts, the Skunk Works team is maintaining an active dialogue within the research community. This team of innovators have changed the world before, and I believe with compact fusion, they may very well be on a path to do that again. Successful innovators master the ability to integrate across both similar and disparate inputs to arrive at solutions that are optimal and extraordinarily inventive. Some may call it disruptive technology. Regardless of what you call it, there and those such solutions are where lies the gold. Throughout all technological advancements, there is one common denominator, and it is the people behind each creation and each adaptation. So when I was asked, what can the state of Texas do to support the industry, I'd say, 1, be bold, as researchers, as engineers, and as innovators. 2, think big. Understand the magnitude of the aerospace and defense industry, and think about how your research findings in one area can revolutionize another. And thirdly, keep pushing the boundaries of innovation, leverage the talents across disciplines, and help to apply them to aerospace and defense. Our nation depends on you. We are driven by the spirit of innovation and by individuals like you willing to take on the toughest challenges to find solutions that will revolutionize the world. At Lockheed Martin, we are proud of the partnerships we have with 8 major universities in Texas, including all the University of Texas schools like University of Texas Austin, University of Texas Arlington, and University of Texas El Paso, together with Texas A&M, Baylor, Texas Christian University, Texas Tech, and the University of North Texas. Not only do our partnerships include funding within the engineering departments, career centers, and business schools, but we bring real-life problems to schools so that students are a part of the cutting-edge solutions, like the technologies that I've talked about today. Through funding of these schools and specialized programs, our goal is to attract and maintain the brightest minds in Texas. You are helping by showcasing how innovation is alive and well in aerospace and defense. I can attest to Lockheed Martin being a pretty cool company doing some pretty cool things. And Lockheed Martin will continue to need thousands of engineers over the coming years, as frankly, so does our nation. In closing, I know all of you appreciate how technical solutions cannot be fully developed or matured in a moment of brilliance. Rather, the timelines, whether they be short or long, demand tremendous engineering tenacity, untiring perseverance to successfully overcome the issues, and the courage to take risks head on. These attributes have been, are, and continue to be demonstrated on all the advances I've discussed today and many more. Whether it be the 5th generation sensor fusion, hypersonics, or compact fusion, successful solutions are built on risk-balanced integrations of that which is revolutionary innovation with that which is evolutionary innovation, and combined with performance and led by extraordinary people. Said another way, the research leads to the development, which leads to production, and ultimately leads to the sustainment of delivered world-class products and services. So I urge all of you to understand the significance of aerospace and defense. We need to keep the brightest minds and the biggest innovators right here in Texas to solve our toughest challenges facing our nation. Thank you, and thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, Orlando. I hope that at least some of you are surprised at the close interaction between a major corporation like Lockheed Martin and our academic institutions, both in research and in workforce attainments. So thank you very much. Questions for Mr. Carvalho? Yes, Gordon?
So Orlando, is the government involved with you in this compact fusion, or is this strictly your own initiative? I mean, how broad is that?
Right now, Gordon, it's largely our own initiative. We're self-funding it. However, we're working very closely with the research communities, you know, in the nuclear fusion world. It's, as you probably know, nuclear fusion is a community. There's a tremendous amount of investment, research, including by our Department of Energy, in other technologies and other areas of nuclear fusion that have been worked on for quite some time. Our interest, as I said in my remarks, really began from the fact that as we think, you know, 20, 30, 40 years into the future, what are those revolutionary technologies that could be game-changing in terms of aircraft endurance? And this individual I mentioned, Tom McGuire, who happens to be a member of our staff in the Skunk Works, had done quite a bit of work on this and had a very innovative approach to doing this that I described. And so we've made some very good advancement with that solution. We've been keeping the broader community apprised. That community, like this community, has its various forums, and we present at those forums and we keep people abreast of what we're doing. We've had many of the government agencies and organizations come visit us and see the work that we're doing, including many of the services in the Department of Defense. Interestingly enough, the most interest we're getting out of the DoD right now is actually from the Army. You know, as the Army thinks about, if we're successful with this, how it could apply to their vehicles. So that's kind of the landscape right now. As I said, we are self-funding. We're not using any resources from outside the company, but keeping everyone informed.
Just a reminder that Rick Perry, a former governor, is Secretary of the Department of Energy. So, I mean, it seems like they would be very interested in this.
Yeah, and they are. We like I said, we're the government right now. The various agencies are kind of watching. I think we need to evolve it a little bit further. As I mentioned before, getting to that place where you get to break even. That's where nobody has really ever gotten yet. In a way that's practical, in a way that's cost-effective and implementable. So we'll see. We'll see if we'll see if we can get this done.
Good. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I had a question about your hypersonic. So, I mean, obviously the engineering challenges are quite, hopefully not insurmountable, but they're quite difficult. But how much are you investing in the physics side, you know, understanding, particularly when you get to hypersonics compared to supersonics, you know, like the transition from laminar to turbulent flow for a given structure.
Right.
How much are you investing in that, and what value do you see in that combination of the engineering and the sciences, particularly when you're working with the universities around the country?
Yeah, so the hypersonic work that we're doing right now is largely with DARPA and with the Air Force Research Lab. And it's work that has been going on for some time. There's been programs in the past that have built demonstrators and you know, tested them, you know, sometimes not successfully, but has helped advance, as you said, helped advance the science. What we're focused on right now is on on maturing the technology, again, through the use of some prototypes and demonstrations. This includes everything from, boosted powered glide vehicles to, to powered boosted vehicles. And it includes the physics and of being able to do the flight control. In fact, that's one of the areas that does get a fair amount of investment, along with the sciences for the materials and the propulsion. So I don't know that I can give you much more fidelity sitting here today, but the flight control aspect is a big part of it.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Buzz?
What elements are you using?
On the sensor fusion, radar information, electronic warfare information. The airplane carries optical sensors.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking sensor fusion.
Materials that are fused.
Buzz, I got to tell you, you're going to quickly get out of my technical expertise here. All I can tell you, what I have learned on this effort is that the plasma that you create, right, through the heating process or whatever, the challenge is to keep that plasma from dispersing. And the use of the magnetic fields and the way we're using that technology is something that hasn't really been tried before in the way we're doing it. And we believe, our engineers believe, our lead engineer believes that there's an approach there, and that's what he's using. If to go beyond that, I have no qualification.
Very good. Okay.
The plasma is heating the gas, right? The element. Oh, I don't recall right now, but it is what is being conventionally used by the other applications.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Orlando. Very good.